Well, thank you everybody for tuning in to Wake and Jake once again. Me and Jake are going to go over the stuff to look out for the week. As always, the show is rated not financial advice. Always make your own decisions and stuff. But glad to have you here. I think we may have strayed from tradition a bit. I don't think that Bitcoin is pumping right now. Actually, it might be doing okay. Over the last week, it hasn't been a very eventful week, but the charts would tell a different story. The charts would tell you that World War III has started and been resolved somehow in the matter of 48 hours because pretty much everything got crushed. I mean, Bitcoin and Ethereum slipped really hard. Alts just got absolutely fucking annihilated. But since then, we've bounced a little bit. So I think, the pressure is not as high. We're kind of just taking a step back here, take a deep breath and sort of pull everything apart. Jake, how are you doing this morning, brother? GM.
Yeah, I think I gotta hold the L this morning. I was very bullish last time on Wake and Jake, and that did not work out well, unfortunately. Looks like we're still in the chop zone. 60K is where we dropped down to over the weekend. That is the big time, longer time frame support on Bitcoin. So we got a real nice bounce off of that. If you were able to kind of play that and long it. I am going to hold my L, but I did have one of my best trading weekends, or over a couple day stretch over this weekend, long in the dip. Thankfully, but still, I feel shitty because I was so bullish, and alts took a hit across the board. I think right now it's just like my initial, I guess, like feelings at the moment, which can certainly change as the day goes on, but it feels very choppy. I think there's a chance we range a bit from like 60K or a little bit above that number, maybe like 62 or so to like 70K until the market wants to pick a direction, which I still think is up. But I'm gonna be cautiously waiting for a little while until it really breaks out of this range that it's been in for about a month or so now, especially with we have these as you mentioned, we have these worries over World War III, as people are saying, between Iran and Israel conflict here. There's been some mixed reports. On how, I guess, escalated it's going to get. We saw on Saturday when Iran launched its attack, the missile attack on Israel. The markets reacted very negatively to that, especially on the weekends. I think we get a little bit more volatility when there's these kind of big news events because the markets are a little more illiquid on the weekends. People aren't trading as much, so there's not as many bids and acts in the order books. So that means prices can shift a lot more than they would if it was, during regular trading hours and there's more volume in the market. So I think that also has kind of resulted in such a drastic dip at the moment or at the time. Because of that news is being on the weekend. I think that helps if you're able to recognize something like that, recognize that the dip might have been overextended, then you could have, played that long-term support at around 60K or so on Bitcoin, and then also, on the alts once Bitcoin got there too. So hopefully there were some dip buyers here that did well. Regardless, I think there still might be some chop zone here. I do think, in general, a dip like this on all these alts during a bear market, a 40% correction, 30% correction, 50% correction, depends on really what the alt is that we're talking about, is usually a pretty good time to buy. Not financial advice, obviously, but we get these buy opportunities right when the market is fearful, and if we're still bullish long term or even like medium term, then we want to try and hopefully take on the FUD a little bit, go headstrong and scoop up these dips. So that's what I tried to do a bit over the weekend. I bought a couple coins. I'm gonna still looking. Probably today, I'm gonna add a little bit more to my positions and some alts too that have bled quite a bit. Because I'm still very much bullish, but it might just be a little bit. We might get a little more down, and that's fine to me. But yeah, that's largely how I'm looking. I guess one other thing of note, there was the Hong Kong ETF approval for Bitcoin, but also ETH, which was, I guess, somewhat notable that ETH got an approval at the same time as Bitcoin did over in Hong Kong. Now I saw a lot of like bullish sentiment over like, oh, now China's coming to buy up Bitcoin, but I did want to kind of mute that a little bit. Real quick, rally is happening in 1 minute on District 1. So if you did, or about 40 seconds. So get in there if you want to get your gems.
Rally.
Rally. But anyway, on the Hong Kong stuff, I just shared a tweet from Eric Balchunas, who's a really good person to follow if you want to follow this ETF sentiment. He has really good analysis on it. He's basically saying, look, it's like not a very big ETF market at all. Like Chinese nationals, I guess technically can't buy Hong Kong ETFs. So that money's kind of barred from really entering. And largely ETFs aren't like a huge thing, at least right now in Hong Kong. So it's not really like a huge thing. It is like nice. It is like positive, but it's not like it's not really much that's going to move the needle. So I just wanted to point that out. Is I feel like I did see some analysis on Twitter saying of people who like, I guess, had a little bit of hopium that this would like really move the market, and maybe it helps a bit. I think more so it's just like the signal of it that there's more appetite around the world for these ETFs. I think there's countries tailing the U.S. a bit on these. I think that's more so the better signal than the actual impact that these ETFs will have over in Hong Kong. So, yeah, I wanted to touch on that. Also, just in general, the Bitcoin ETFs, touch on every week. I'm going to share the chart again from DGen's Finance that shows the inflows. We had our first week where the total outflows were larger than the total inflows last week. It was by a pretty small amount comparatively. And it wasn't like there was a huge amount of dumping. It was really just the normal amount that GBTC selling has been happening. Not even it's still like been slowed down a bit. There just wasn't that much inflows coming into the ETFs. I think that could change a good amount if we get some bullish sentiment. But I thought it was notable. At least I don't know if this chart. I think as time goes on, it's not as much of a big deal as it was when the ETFs initially came out. But it's at least something to monitor. It's also like it's not forward looking. It's backward looking data. So yeah, that's about all I got on macro at the moment.
Yeah, well, that's a lot to unpack. Very well said. I was going to actually ask about the macro stuff too after you were done, so I'm glad you went ahead and dove into that. I wouldn't beat yourself up, man, on being bullish before this. I wouldn't call it a black swan event or anything like that, but a significant dip. I mean, you've been bullish for 12 weeks, so what's 1 week of dip in your track record here, your hit record? If anything, man, I would say these shows and your outlook and your sentiment, it gave me the resolve to not at all be worried about all of this mess. Like, I mean, I checked it, I saw the charts, and I didn't really even think about it for very long. I was just like, yeah, it's whatever. And I did actually add to some of my positions and buy the dip very close to the bottom. So yeah, I think I did well there. No big size or anything, but it's more about the sentiment and the resolve, and just like, we've been here, you know what I mean? Like we've been here, we've done this. The news that came out, it crashed the charts, but it didn't change the thesis. You know what I mean? Like the halving date didn't change. Like we're still just chugging along. So even if you were bullish on a week where we dipped, I think it's fine. I think it helped me personally. Hopefully, some other people in the chat as well. One more thing I want to do just really quickly here is just note for the audio recording that voice hangout chat is fucking popping right now with Grill Alpha. So if anybody is ready to get grilling this summer, go ahead and timestamp 12/18 on April 15th. Go ahead and scroll back up to the chat because you're missing some crazy Grill Alpha going on right now. You absolutely love to see it. One more thing I did want to ask you about, Jake, just news-wise from last week was I caught the headline that the SEC is going after Uniswap, which just gave me just a nice little chuckle personally. But I was just curious if you had saw that or if you had any thoughts or any ideas or opinions there on that lawsuit on Uniswap.
Yeah,
sorry, Wells Notice, I should say, more specifically.
Yeah, it is basically a lawsuit. It's the same thing. It's what Bell Wells does. It's basically like they're telling Uniswap that they're going to take them to court, similar to what they did with Coinbase. I think it's a little worrisome in terms of it's worrisome, but it's also like I think it could be a good thing at the same time. It's worrisome in that they're coming after DeFi now, whereas previously they were coming after a lot of these exchanges, which is kind of like it's crypto still, but it's also very it's like centralized, right? It's these individual companies. Whereas Uniswap itself has built a protocol. It's like kind of like the heart of DeFi. It was the original, DEX that gained the most traction. Like there's been a million forks of Uniswap that people have copied. It's kind of like one of the flagship products of crypto. So it's worrisome in that they're kind of really coming at like the heart of DeFi and crypto. It seems like with Uniswap, it doesn't really make it's a bit just like, I mean, it is like Hayden Adams said it, the CEO and the founder of Uniswap. But it's just like disappointing. Honestly, that's how it feels. It's just like they're not like worried about it. It's just disappointing that especially as a U.S. citizen that they're coming after like the good guys for the most part. There's so many other scams in crypto, and they just choose to target like the best actors in the space. But at the same time, like that's also why it's a good thing, right? Is because they have a ton of power. They have a ton of like legal might. They have a ton of resources. Uniswap does, as well as Coinbase, and they have a lot of people behind them. In goodwill, I would say that they can fight the SEC in the court. I feel like the SEC is kind of barking up the wrong tree. It's just unfortunate because it's going to take a long time. It could take years before this is actually settled in court. At which time, like Gary Gensler, like probably, if not like likely, if there's a new administration, is going to be gone, and it's just going to be, I don't know. It's good. It's just kind of a mess. But I would say like I'm not too worried myself. I think they're probably like one of the best possible people for the SEC to go after, just because I think they'll be able to very much defend themselves in court and beat the SEC in a legal battle. It's just disappointing that we're even here because it doesn't even make sense. From people who are in the space and understand like that Uniswap's like a good actor and has done so much for like the crypto world, and there's like so many other bad actors that could have gone after. It's just it's kind of a little disheartening is all.
Yeah, well said. It is disappointing. And I think the statement that Uniswap put out, that was sort of just their theme. It's just like they sounded like, I don't know, like sad for the SEC. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's a shame that we have to destroy you. Like, I don't know. Like, they kind of clap back. Like, it's clear that the SEC is not going to give us regulation or precedent outside of just fucking losing court cases, apparently. So, shame that we have to do this. But like you said, it is there's silver lining there that it's Uniswap that they chose, because if anybody's suited up to go to battle with them and do okay, it's probably them. To me, it's interesting too because Uniswap, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Uniswap is sort of like the father of airdrops. Like at least for me, that was the first airdrop that I remember being in the space. Since like late 2016 was the Uniswap airdrop, and it was sort of just a big deal, pandemonium. And then we sort of saw like an airdrop meta after that, and it sort of evolved into the airdrops that we know and love today. But if I'm misremembering my history, please, if there was somebody before Uniswap that did like a big airdrop like that to all participants, please let me know. But I would be interested if that plays any element in the case, being sufficiently distributed or just number of holders or whatever. But I mean, I think we all love airdrops, right? Like the idea of airdrops are phenomenal, and for Uniswap to kind of kick that off and be the champion of it, I'm rooting for them. I hope they pull things through. Do I have that right though, Jake? Or were you around, or do you remember who sort of kicked off or did the first airdrop, starting all this this airdrop mania?
As far as I can remember, they were one of the earliest. Jinzo, are you gonna say something?
I was gonna say that's definitely the earliest one, because I remember just missing on that because my friend told me, "Don't touch Uniswap. We don't know what these things can do. You know, they're a little risky, these platforms." And he was like an OG in crypto. Meanwhile, all you had to do is do like one transaction, and you got like airdrop $4,000. Like the last cycle, that was a lot of money. You know, like an airdrop like that was not around, did not exist. Like that really kicked it off, and then it got gave a lot of people ideas on how they should do airdrops. Sort of like ENS followed them and did an airdrop maybe a few months after they did. So yeah. It's definitely the first one I remember. They kicked off. They basically made us all rich before it was even possible to get free money out of the air.
Well, so I'm glad Jinzo, blockchain historian, is here to chime in. That's beautiful. I did hit the 1 inch, right? I missed on Uniswap as well, but I did hit the 1 inch a few months later, and it was beautiful. It was like a $2,000 airdrop on Christmas Day. It was fucking beautiful. Just like, yeah, this is it. Airdrops are the move. This is the wave. And then, yeah, of course, we had a whole year of just useless airdrops that did put money in our pockets, though. Those were pretty sweet.
THC, I was hoping I could use the 1 inch as a segue for me to chime in on the state of coins. 1 inch is that's the height of my vertical.
Okay, you made me nervous. I was like, where's he going with this?
No,
vertical. Please, yeah. Go ahead, Ross.
No, as always, really appreciate your and Jake's insights just on the state of coins and the state of the market. And I think Jake had the best approach that he mentioned earlier, which is just, chop might be ahead. And I just wanted to sort of talk to the audience because I know on Twitter, there's just so many people yelling like, buy the dip. And there definitely is a good dip buy, but still within the context of like where we've been for the past 3 months, things could definitely go lower. And a lot of people who are posting about buying the dip, that's obviously incentivizing their own bags. Not saying it's like they're going to benefit off of it, but a lot of times when people make posts like that, it can come from a place of hopium or copium. So yeah, I mean, I would just say if you're there and not sure what to do, consider sitting on your hands. But I would say as much as people are screaming like, buy the dip, don't get overly emotional in either direction. You might be down 40% on an altcoin and you think like, okay, I got to buy the dip with size. Like I'm going to empty my whole bankroll so that if it bounces up 30 or 40%, I'm back in the green and we're running again. But if you deploy all your capital, that leaves you into a situation where if it does fall another 10% or 20%, however much, then it really just like accelerates the bleeding further. So I just wanted to chime in, as always, like you guys heard me pop into Wake and Jake over the past few weeks and just sort of emphasize buying the dip and scaling into the position. And once again, I think it's just like a great time to buy the dip, but always be scaling in. And then one other coin I just wanted to shout out was Ondo. It tied back into a theme that I think Jake brought up a few weeks ago of real world assets. And that one's been holding pretty strong relatively throughout all of this bleeding and chop and all that. So I thought that was a good one to look to. Makes sense with BlackRock doing their RWA trust they're setting up. But yeah, just wanted to shout that out. And as always, appreciate the show, guys.
Hey, appreciate you, Ross. Yeah, great words of wisdom there. Ross is our resident dip buying expert. He wrote a field report about just the emotions and psychology and stuff that goes into buying dips and just timing your entries and stuff. So definitely appreciate the other side of that coin, man. And yeah, and well said. Yeah, I mean, when I say buy the dip, there's kind of like a read between the lines of like the major coins. Like I wouldn't buy altcoins on a dip. I mean, it's just not for the faint of heart, which, I'm realizing I'm part of that camp, but yeah, I'm just kind of averaging into things like Solana and Ethereum, Bitcoin. But yeah, those altcoins, man, it's a lot harder because is it a dip or is it a falling knife? Really hard to tell. There's no real thesis to assume that they will recover like there is with bigger coins like Bitcoin. So yeah, definitely use your own discretion and your own risk tolerance and all that stuff. But yeah, great reminder from Ross not to get swept up in the hype and stuff where it's just, nothing is ever 100% universal across the board. It's like, no, now is the time to buy the dip. That just can't be the case. So definitely take your bankroll and your risk exposure into consideration there. Great shout, Ross. Appreciate you, man. always welcome to jump in and share your opinions.
Thanks, dude. And I mean, WIF, throw it in there. WIF is definitely sort of an altcoin, but I mean, you know, I know that Jake's been preaching it for a while. I definitely see the impact of it. It just seems like such a wholesome and good quality meme. So I've definitely been buying some WIF here, and will continue scaling in. But NFA.
Whoa! WIF is not an altcoin or shitcoin, man. This is a major leader. This is going to reshape finance in the future.
No, yeah, I thought you brought up a really good point on Ondo being an outperformer on the dip. I think those are coins you usually want to look for when you are buying the dip is ones that haven't taken as much of a beating as others comparatively. Those are usually the ones that are also going to, you know, perform the strongest once the market does start to trend back up too. So, you know, the more dip resistant ones, I guess you would call it, are good ones to look at.
I'd also mention Prime in that camp of relative strength coins.
Yeah, great call.
What about DOP? Did DOP dip at all? Sorry, I don't think it's launched. I'm just kidding. What's up, Aslo?
Oh yeah, I was just going to chime in and build on top of you guys for a second. And thanks as always for doing the show, guys. Like it's really, really awesome. My 1000x BTC long isn't working out so well today, but nonetheless, really, really good.
Shit, we'll get them next week.
I think just building on top. I mean, so I agree with, of course, Ross and Jake and what everybody's saying. Just maybe one comment to make it, which is for anybody watching and trying to figure out what's going to happen or how to think about it. I think there's like 2 to 3 inputs I think to consider and watch out for. I think one is like the economy side of things, right? Which is everything from inflation and so on and so forth. And on that side, all we're looking for is things to not drastically change, right? Meaning like no commenting about rate hikes. It's that simple. And that's only every so often we know when those meetings are and kind of when we hear about that, right? The second part is the war side of things, which just came in, right? Now, the war side of things, I think the little bit of subtlety that at least I'm seeing is that you saw Biden jump in very, very fast and essentially do everything to ensure there's no big war, there's no big retaliation, right? Which is kind of, in my opinion, the subtext of, you know, not only do we not want war, but there's an election coming up, right? So let's keep the peace so we can stay in office in theory, right? And whether you're Democrat, Republican, or otherwise, obviously stability is good for us. That's what we're looking for, right? In the short term. And then, of course, the third bucket would be black swans, but you can't predict specific black swans. Obviously, you can only know that they're going to happen periodically and then just make your financial choices accordingly if you want to hold some money back or make sure you have enough money for your bills or whatever that means, right? So I just thought it might help to throw on top and break that down so that people know kind of what we're looking for in the news, which ideally means no change to stability, ideally.
Well said. Yeah, gotta know the factors to look out for if it is time to change that thesis. So yeah, well said. Anything to add there, Jake?
No, I thought it was a great call. I think if we do see some more stability, I think the market will respond positively to that. So it is something to keep a note on the news. If there are some, I guess, ease of tensions, hopefully that can be good for the market. And if not, then we might see some more dippage and chop if hostility ensues.
Yes, well said. Keep your eyes or ears on the ground for those big, unknown events when they do happen. As far as known events, I do have a few here for MVHQ. I just want to rattle these off real quick so you guys can clear up your calendar and make sure to attend. Today, we're going to have Boss Dogs. Tentative time, I think we're aiming for around 4 p.m. Eastern. But if that changes, just keep an eye on the events channel. Tuesday, we have an AMA with Circle Tech. Circle Tech is another sort of social farming app, similar to FriendTech, but with questions. We can talk about it a little bit more later. And then Thursday, we're going to have a Spaces, Twitter Spaces with the WoW Exchange. So make sure to roll through there and join us for those spaces. I also want to go through some field reports before we jump in. Yeah, what's up?
Wait, I don't know if you know. We're having Trevor on tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Let's go. That's awesome.
Yeah, for runes and Pizza Ninja's discussion. I'm sure we could sneak in some node questions too. It'll be hosted by Ross Boss. We were trying to get it done for 4 p.m. Eastern, but finally we had to push it a little bit because he had meetings. But he'll be here for a casual convo and voice hangout. We could ask our questions. And I'm sure a lot of people are very curious to see how runes work and stuff. So work on those questions. Let's make it as efficient as possible because there's a lot to talk about. 7 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, great shout, Jinzo. Okay, yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss that one. Trevor, for those who don't know, is a whale and investor in MVHQ. He's running Pizza Ninjas. I mean, Pizza Ninjas is blowing up right now. They are the plug to be tapped in for runes and stuff. So while we don't quite have that level of access, it's great. We've been beating his door down just to get him in here and come talk to us. So I'm sure we'll be able to pull some alpha from him and just pick his brain a bit. But yeah, that's an excellent get. Great shout, Jinzo. So yeah, everybody 7 p.m. For that event. I'm going to take a break there. I thought I heard somebody coming in. I want to run through the field reports because we have a few topics for the week that we want to talk about, and a couple of these are in these field reports. So I want to go ahead and highlight those first. Just so you guys know that they do exist, and you can go give those a read and throw some blesses or reactions their way. But the first one is going to be District 1 on Blast. This one's by Mitch. We covered it at the top of the show and dropped the link to try and get you guys in there. But if you're curious and don't know what the heck we're talking about, this field report is a great place to start. It's a SocialFi app. It's on Blast. MVHQ is kicking ass over there. So it's good fun. So just read the field report, jump in there if you want to get involved. Every 2 hours, there's these sort of like degen sort of gambling like rallies where you throw some gems in, and then it's first come first serve. A couple people aren't able to claim the pot, so it's good fun. You don't really lose anything, and it's very cheap to get into. Next, we have another Blast project here. We have a great Blast Gold Farm opportunity by FSN. This was a time-sensitive heads-up that Hyperlock finance pools had opened for a Gold Rush campaign. Hopefully members were able to jump in on that, and there's lots of follow-up discussion in that field report, which you love to see as well. Next, yet another Blast farming thread. We have Cambria Gold Farming by Vent. This one goes over the opportunity that we have being early to Cambria and the various approaches that you can use to farm Blast Gold inside of the game. Next, we have Unicorn, the L1 meme blockchain by Mindful. This is a low-key L1 find by Mindful that he speculates could be tied to the MOG team. So give that one a check, sign up, and start collecting Unicorn coins if you want to be early to that. And then lastly, we have the Circle Tech Friends list by JD. This is a comprehensive list of all of the known members, MVHQ members on Circle Tech. So if you guys want to farm or be farmed on there, you guys can check that list, similar to the Friend Tech focus discussion where everyone was trading keys and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the field reports for the past week. Appreciate all of the contributors. If any of those sound interesting, you can go give those a read. But a couple of these are interesting to me. So I do want to talk through District 1. I'm sure Jake is chomping at the bit to talk about Cambria. And then we can touch on Circle Tech a little bit as well, because I know that's been garnering some attention and hype. But Jake, any of these leaping off the page at you that you wanna dive into here?
Yeah, we can talk about District 1. Yeah, I'd love to get into that. We just had our rally today, so we did touch on it last week too, and I know we talked about it a bit already in MVHQ. But I guess for a quick overview of District 1, it is similar to Friend Tech, where there's rooms, and you can buy shares of a certain rune room. I think they call them spaces. And it gives you access, or some of them you don't have to buy a share. You can just have access without the share. I think some differences. In my opinion, I like it a lot more than Friend Tech. I think it's a lot more gamified. It's basically like what do they call it? They call it something with like money games, SocialFi with money games. I think something like that, where there's a lot of different, I think, unique and thoughtful aspects that they add to District 1 that's basically kind of like an upgrade of Friend Tech, in my opinion. What's pretty cool about it is the room itself. You can either join, you can do it all for free, so there's a lot of like free farming that you can do, as long as you just have an initial set of, I guess, gems that you get, and you can join the room, and there's these rallies every 2 hours, right? We announced it at the beginning of the show. It was at noon. And there's going to be another one at 2 p.m. Eastern, about an hour and 20 minutes. And it's basically a gem drop, right? And they drop these gems, and everyone has to click it real quick. And hopefully you're within the claim period for these gem drops. And you get these gems, and these gems go towards their native token, which is called Ole, and also some Blast Gold rewards. There's a good amount more besides that we can get into, but that's just a quick initial overview. You said you wanted to touch on as well, so I'll give you an opportunity here.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Jake did a great job. That's sort of the sort of base level like user experience is you stake like 0.005 ETH. That gets you your starter gems. Each day you can vote for a space that's going to give you some more free gems. And then to enter into, they call them spaces, but you could consider them, like a Discord server essentially, or just one chat room for a community. But you stake some gems to enter that, and then Jake mentioned the rallies every 2 hours. Those cost 200 gems to get into, and then a little button shows up in the chat, and it's like this frenzy to click the button as fast as you can, which I think is pretty interesting. Imagine if Discord had something that rewarded periodic engagement. Like just a button that you click in here to get some points. It's a pretty cool concept to give people a reason to just kind of hang around in these chat rooms. But then beyond that, there are other elements that are happening beyond just the user sort of experience. So the hosts of the spaces, they get daily allocations of gems that they can either gift to members, like just straight up send them to a specific member, or they can do just airdrops, where another type of button appears in the chat. This one you didn't have to pay any for the rally, and they can happen unscheduled, unprompted. Anytime the hosts want, they can just fire off these airdrops, which again just sort of encourages that like community sort of solidarity, like everyone being there in presence and activity, which is really cool. There's also, there's daily votes, which I mentioned you can get the 500 gems from, but from the host perspective or the space's perspective, the more votes that your space gets, the higher you rank on the leaderboard, the more gems that you get to airdrop to your community. So it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like the big, it sort of snowballs. The bigger you are, the more gems you get, the more you can reward to your community, the more people want to join your community. So we've got the snowball rolling over there on District 1 as MVHQ. So really cool opportunity for our members to jump in there and quickly accumulate these gems faster than a lot of the other spaces that people are a part of. So, if you're interested at all, definitely go give it a read through. I know a lot of people jumped in and didn't understand it, but they do have really good documents up at the top. There's like a little 3 dots you can hit. They have documents for players and for hosts, and you can go and read through all of the mechanics and stuff like that. Definitely, some Ponzi on top of Ponzi action going on, but at the end of the day, it's easy to get into. And it's pretty fun. And based on what I've seen from other spaces that I'm in, our numbers are pretty nutty as far as the amount of gems you can accumulate just sort of being active in there versus the other spaces, like I mentioned. So I think it's a good opportunity. I think it's low lift. It's a low price to get into. And, if everyone's farming Blast right now, this has just been, to me, the most captivating sort of DApp that held my attention anyway. But that's basically all I got on District 1. You can pretty much count on a handful of members being in there every 2 hours. I'm at Eastern time zone, so I know it's the even hours. So basically, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8. I'm constantly all day. I'm looking at the clock and seeing if I'm at an even hour or close to it, so I can run to my computer and go jump in on these rallies. But low lift, hopefully high reward, but we'll see. But MVHQ is going to keep cooking over there and having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, a couple other quick things on this. I think in general, I guess the bull case is, I think Frentech is going to be very hot on the timeline over the next week or so. I believe their airdrop is scheduled to be next week sometime. And it should be a pretty hefty airdrop by all accounts. And I think that big. Because they're giving, I don't think they're giving any to VCs. I think they're giving a pretty huge amount to the community. I think they might be giving 100% to the community, which I think is going to be a very good amount. So I think that's going to, lead to some people chasing other airdrops, other SocialFi stuff. It could see a boost across the board. And this is kind of like the natural, I think, in my opinion, next thing that's really close to Frentech. In my opinion, it's better than Frentech in terms of like the product itself. It's more engaging. There's more reasons to use it every day and be active on it than there is on Frentech. So and it's also like more transparent in how you can actually earn through it. So I think all those things in general are why I'm bullish on the product. And the coin itself is at a pretty low market cap right now. I think it's like less than 10 million. So there's a chance to get in early. The only thing is it is on multiple blockchains. So people do Arbit a bit, where they, if price rises a bunch in Blast, then people will sell on Arb and stuff like that. But in general, I do, in my opinion, it's still too low, and I'm planning. I haven't bought yet, but I'm planning to buy back pretty soon here. But also a couple quick farming tips before we move on to the next thing. Under the Prime tab on District 1, THC mentioned it, but you get 3 votes a day for the Prime tab, and you want to use those 3 votes every day, because every vote you use gives you 500 gems. So that's 1,500 gems. And then there's also the Survival tab, where they actually get rid of the spaces that are the least active, get the least amount of votes, the bottom 3. So you also want to vote for 3 there too, because you get 500 gems for them too. So each day you can get 3K gems from just clicking the vote button. So you want to check in every day. Those resets at the same time as like the daily gems reset, which is 8 p.m. Eastern every day. And then also there's a way to stake your Sole, which locks it up for 3 months. I think it's like 0.05, I want to say, ETH is how much it costs to stake this, but it gives you a 300% boost in all your gem collecting for rallies, and I'm not sure if there's other stuff besides rallies, maybe just regular gem airdrops. But if you're planning to farm it, I think it's likely worth it to get that 3x boost. And also, one other thing, you can buy shares, again, like FriendTech, into different spaces. If you're going to be active in a certain space, I'd recommend buying a share for that, because that gives you another 3x boost. So you can get a total of like a 6x boost if you're claiming shares from a space, if you have both Sole staked and you have a share from that space. So that can help a lot with your farming as well.
Yeah, well said. As soon as you were done, I was going to jump back in and mention the shares, because I completely neglected those. But yeah, like the cheap and easy way to get in is just the gyms. But if you do want to, support MVHQ, or if you want to farm a different way, you can buy the shares of the room, and that opens up a few opportunities. Jake mentioned you get a boost to the airdrops that you claim. You get a 3x boost. You also get passive Ole from other people buying the shares. Well, there's passive and non-passive. So each time someone buys a share of MVHQ, a little purple box pops up in the chat, and it's usually, I think, 3 people can click it, but you get a little bit of Ole from clicking that. If you're a shareholder, but then also you just get passive Ole as well. Every time someone buys one of the MVHQ shares, it divvies it out between all of the shareholders relative to the amount of shares that they have. So if you want to just buy a few shares and not necessarily sit in chat all day, that is an option that you can do to just passively generate some Ole, and as well get bonuses on those claims if you are active. So yes, just buying a share is like the all-out way to support. Ezra mentions the shares are liquid as well, similar to the keys on FriendTech. So yeah, if you want to go hard, you can get a share. If you want to go light, you can just get some gems and go in there and vote and participate that way. But yeah, a couple different ways to play it. But if you're going for maximum points, you're going to want to stake your gems and then buy a share for that 6x boost, which adds up pretty quick.
You can make money flipping those shares pretty easily. They are liquid, like Ezrin says, but if you know of a good room that's opening up soon, and you think they're going to be active on there, you can flip the shares. It's just starting to become a lot more competitive now, so they run hard. Like there's one that opened up, I think it was YOLO Games, opened up and it flew to like $1,000 per share instantly, because it was such a competitive drop and so many people were looking to buy in. But if you know of a good room that's opening up, of someone that's either popular, kind of like we did on FriendTech, you could buy the keys and make good flips on them, because it is catching steam. District 1, there's a lot of people on it, and I think more people coming in, like by the droves every single day. So, there's opportunity there. Oh, as we said, that someone just bought a bunch of MVHQ keys. That's Poopaloop. Go claim fast. If you're in the
go claim.
Go claim, yeah.
15 claims. Damn, Poop buying 5 shares. Papa Poop. Yeah, go claim your Ole if you're a shareholder. that's pretty lit. Yeah, great shout, Genzo. One more, just other little dynamic I want to add there is they really have engineered these spaces to pop the fuck off on the first day, like when they launch. So Genzo mentioned the arbitrage of, or not arbitrage, just the opportunity of buying the shares early right when a space launches. Something that they do in addition to that is they do a bootstrap airdrop where basically when you start your space that first day, you get a lot more gems to airdrop to your chatting participants. So like MVHQ is doing really well. I think we're up to like 65K gems per day or something like that. But these new spaces, they get 500K on that first day. So it's cost 1,000 gems to stake and enter a chat and start claiming their rallies and their airdrops and stuff. There's been plenty of spaces where I drop the 1,000 gems and then I get more than 1,000 back just off that bootstrap airdrop, just because they're making it rain all day. Sometimes they'll do scheduled drops, sometimes it's just sporadic, sometimes it's constant, but to each space is going to do it different. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on the new emerging spaces, because not only do they have that bootstrap airdrop with more gems that's pretty high EV just for joining the chat, they also, like Genzo mentioned, the shares run like crazy just as everyone tries to get in front run each other in PvP and stuff. So a couple opportunities there, a couple different ways to approach it, but the new spaces are pretty lit with those bootstrap airdrops. It's been working out pretty good for me anyway. That's all I've got on District 1. It can be a bit complicated, so we could probably talk about it for a lot longer. Is there any questions or anything else anybody wants to chime in and add here before we move to the next social file Ponzi here? If not, beautiful. I wanted to touch, I don't have a lot of information, but I wanted to at least mention it here. We did mention the field report on Circle Tech, and that's another social fi sort of farming opportunity here. This one's over on Base. And it takes the form of more of like pay to ask questions type platform. So people create a profile and they set a price for either a question to be asked or for like a private DM to be opened with them. And then you can just basically go in there and pay that price and ask a question, and then it posts it on sort of their like feed, like a public wall. That's the extent that I got of it. One more little crumb of information I got was I clicked the leaderboard section and I saw that our resident Scottco is just Mr. fucking Circle Tech. Jesus Christ. He's in first place by like a very large margin. So Scottco, I don't know if you have anything you want to add here about Circle Tech. That would be phenomenal, because I think you're definitely the expert. But if not, at least wanted to shout out the existence of it and get it on people's radar if they hadn't seen it yet. Scotco, are you around? If not, no pressure, brother. I'm sure you're a busy guy, but yeah, I'd love to have you talk about it if possible. But again, if not, okay. Jake, have you dabbled in Circle Tech at all?
I've not, no. I think Scott goes around. Looks like you unmuted.
Oh, beautiful.
Hey, what's up?
Yo, GM.
How's it going?
It's going good, man. It'd be going better if I had your amount of Circle Tech points. You want to talk to us about it a little bit? How did that happen? How do you crushing it over there? What's going on?
Yeah, I think there's about 30 of us now from MVHQ that are over there. So the loop itself is pretty simple. But yeah, I mean, I just saw it from Ansem, who's the head of this cycle, had posted about it, when there were only a few people on there. But yeah, like you were saying, I mean, it's pretty much just Q&A back and forth. You set your price. And so what almost all of us have done, and we have a focused discussion now, is our price is pretty close to each other. So it's mainly like if you want to talk to other MVHQ people and potentially get paid to do it, ask people questions. Like I was sending Vigil a couple this morning, and he gave me these like super in-depth answers back on like how to get into private rounds and pre-sales. So I think JD, I'm not sure if he published it yet, but we were talking to this morning, so we were realizing the easiest way to find, like the search isn't great on here. So for finding people's profiles in MVHQ, he put together this master list of all of us that are on there. So you can pretty much just like click on profiles. My method has been like 10 minutes a day. And I go through and just ask MVHQ people questions and then respond to those questions. And that's it. That's my farm. And you can get about 10,000 points a day that way. And then the other big thing, which I forget who figured out this hack, but if you go into questions, if you're already on here, when people answer you, you can rate their questions and you get almost double points just for rating their question. So the loop is send a question, reply back to everybody, and then rate their question. And it's about the easiest farm I found ever. I put in less than 0.05 ETH into Circle, and it's also on.
Wow,
Also,
dude,
it's a base farm too.
Amazing. Yeah, that I gotta admit, that is pretty shocking. I was expecting you to put in either a ton of ETH or a ton of time. I thought you were neglecting all your ships or something to do this all day. That's wild. That just 10 minutes a day has catapulted you that far. This is the power of community, right? MVHQ, man, scratching each other's back. So if you guys want to get in on that, Jake just posted a link to the field report. I mentioned it earlier in the field report roundup. JD did correct me, though, so I want to go ahead and shout out Scottco as a co-author of that field report as well. And then thanks, Scottco, for coming up here and giving us the alpha, man. I mean, there's literally no one else that you should listen to right now about Circle Tech than Scottco. The dude's crushing it. So, yeah, amazing that is from a 10-minute per day investment and a very small ETH cost. Seems like a cook, man. Yeah, good luck. I hope that it pans out and Friend Tech sort of reignites the meta, and we can get some high dollar values on these airdrops or what have you. So yeah, good luck, man. Keep cooking.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate the alpha. That's all I had for Circle Tech. Jake, any other topics you want to jump into here?
I did want to. We touched on it last week as well, but I do want to quick touch on another while we're on the SocialFi stuff. I do think DGen is in a good spot right now. I think that could also get a bid. That's probably like the number one SocialFi coin right now that Frentech isn't out yet, and it has a lot more going for it. Like we talked on, last episode, has its own chain, but it's also on Warpcast, which seems to have some nice staying power. I know like Vitalik uses it a lot. I think even more than Twitter. So they have some heavier hitters over there using Warpcast, as well as I think people are, farming base a little bit by doing that. And DGen's kind of like the number one coin over there. So I think that could be a decent play. I bought a good amount of that yesterday. It's finally on the dip, hoping that, this Frentech era of SocialFi over the next couple weeks gives DGen a boost as well. So just wanted to give that one a shout out.
Beautiful. Well said. Again, I'm still a fan of their logo.
It's a great logo. Do you own a top hat? That's a real question.
I don't, man.
Why are we not seeing a picture of you in the top hat on one of our content videos?
It's a fair question. I've shared this information in a smaller, more intimate setting, but yeah, man, I don't actually own any top hat. I don't know that a top hat has ever even been on my head before in my life. No, that's not true. I was at like a leather shop and tried one on, and it looks insane. I don't understand how people wear top hats, man. I look like T-Pain or something. Crazy. Yeah, one day.
This guy's a fraud.
I know, man. Big fat phony. Please do not share that. I got a reputation to uphold, so please keep it to yourself. I got one little quick shout out here. Just missions ending on the platform. I know we had like a big surge of missions, so it could have been easy to get lost in the sauce, but it's trimmed down now. A lot of those have closed out. The older, bigger window ones. Now things are a little bit tighter. So just to kind of keep everybody on their toes, just a quick heads up here. 5 missions end this week before our next Wake and Jake episode, and I can see your lovely faces again. So go knock these out. Grid plus Lattice, you have 6 days. Juicy Perp and YOLO Games, you have 4 days. Shadow War, you have 2 days. And LogX, you have 1 day. So don't wait. Go ahead and knock those out. All the various opportunities that they provide, plus the experience on our platform. And yeah, InfoGeek, a leather shop, if you can believe it or not. They just sell belts and wallets and shit. And I was like, oh, hey, there's like top hats that look like steampunk or something. But they didn't belong on my head. They didn't fit.
They didn't fit on your head. Extra emphasis on Shadow War. We can't say more than that, but sign up to that, please. That's the only hint I'll ever give. I can't say more than that, but get on that. At least join it because, yeah, do the playtest.
Hey, it got Junzo to unmute, guys. It might be something there. Poppy's also. It sounds like alpha.
I can't say more than that. We're not allowed to. But
Shadow War.
Shadow War. Yep, I filled out the questionnaire this morning. And then Poppy also dropped in chat just that we have some active allow list opportunities that are closing tonight. So go ahead and hit that up too. Sorry, my whale perks. It's just I'm auto entered into these, so I don't even check the channel, man. Maybe I got to include these in our shout outs. But yeah, definitely go hit up active allow lists if you're not a whale and you have to manually click those like a pleb. Just kidding. Yeah, no, don't miss them. Go get those opportunities. Poppy is also sharing some not financial advice to do the Shadow War mission, please. So go hit it up, fellas. Go hit it up, ladies and gentlemen.
These are the fellows who brought in the mission on the BD team, so they have the most alpha out of anyone.
They've spoken with the team. Well, look, I'm going to shoot my shot here. I've got through everything that I had, Jake. I don't know if you are. We're at the top of the hour. That would be elegant and beautiful. Of course, we can obviously keep going like we usually do, but if it happened to be an hour on the dot, that would be pretty badass. So at least throwing it out there. But Jake, anything else pressing or that you want to talk us through for the week?
Yeah. Oh, Ezra with a handy link there. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to touch on Cambria. I did want to do that real quick, even though we have talked about it a good amount. I just wanted to at least shout out that there is a regular gold farm there that you can do. Even if you are done farming, you can just log in if you've done enough battles. I think you have to have at least like 500 influence points, is what they call them, which I think requires just a few battles, like 0.02 ETH each, back and forth. But you can log on every day and collect blast gold every 24 hours. That resets. So make sure to get in there, collect your blast gold, as well as if you do continue to battle, there's also an additional blast gold claim that you can do for continuing to battle and earning essence points, which give you these blast tomes, is what they call them, and it's kind of like a roll of the dice kind of thing, similar to how like the spins were for staking blast, and you can accumulate blast gold through that way as well. So that's one that I like a lot because you're also farming the token for the Cambria game itself, which I'm bullish on the game because I think they do a good job over there, and it's pretty fun, and they have a lot more planned than just like this normal DGen arena. They have a whole world that they're building out. So just wanted to shout that one out because I think that's another good one if you are trying to farm blast, which in my opinion is still underfarmed for how nice of an airdrop it can be. One other thing, oh yeah, we touched on it briefly, but usually in this time in Wake and Jake, we talk about like I usually prepare as much as I can, like for the thing that I'm like the most bullish on during the week. And this is an exception this time because that thing is runes, and that's going to happen, I believe, in whenever the halvening is. What is that projected to be? Friday now, sometime maybe Saturday. But we're not touching on it in this episode because Boss Dogs is going to touch on it. Ross just gave an update. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, and Trevor's going to come on at 7 p.m. Eastern today.
Oh, that's so hype! Yeah, dope. Trevor joining Boss Dogs. I can't wait.
Yeah. So that's certainly number one thing I'm looking forward to over the next week. I'm going to be preparing for that. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities there with it being, altcoins or shit coins, meme coins, whatever it may be on Bitcoin. I think there's so much opportunity with Bitcoin being the biggest, obviously, chain out there in terms of value and TVL and all that. I just think there's so much opportunity and upside to these coins. They're like, if you look at the biggest altcoin right now, I think it's the pup, the Rune coin or whatever, and that's still like nowhere near in terms of market cap, like even like the biggest like Solana coins are definitely not anywhere near like the ETH ones. So I think there's just so much upside, and those guys will do a better job than I will, at least going through how runes work and how to get prepared. So I'll save it for those guys, and I'm going to be learning alongside you guys as well. I don't know about you guys, but did anyone else buy or start a node for Bitcoin to get ready for this? I just bought a MacBook over the weekend. It gets delivered today, and I'm going to try and figure out how to set up a Bitcoin node.
so I can get ahead of the curve. Anyone else on the boat with me?
Yeah, we actually had an event on Friday hosted by Ross. It was Rune's last call was basically a workshop to get everybody set up, man. There's a recording and video content. You can also hit up the office hours chat and just scroll up because it turned into like a full-blown troubleshooting a session, which seems like you're going to need probably if you are going in those muddy waters. But I mean, hey, man, this is what we're all here for, is to help each other and stuff. So great shout. Ross, do you have anything to add on the nodes, man?
Yeah, appreciate the shout. Appreciate the Boss Dogs plug. Love to see MVHQ content thriving. We do now have a Bitcoin node help thread in there, and we just have a ton of knowledgeable members. I'm still navigating these waters. Finally got my node set up, so now I'm ready to learn about how to actually etch and inscribe runes with the pipe. But yeah, definitely take advantage of the threads. Shout out to Swar God. He was helping me out last night when I was just completely stuck in the mem pool, and he pulled me out of those waters. So shout out to him. But yeah, we got the new thread up. So if you're still getting stuff set up, Jake, feel free to check out the node thread, and you can shoot me a DM. Anyone listening can shoot me a DM. Can't promise I'm going to be able to help you, but do that. And then a final shout is ChatGPT is actually a very, very good resource for troubleshooting. ChatGPT kind of a sweetheart. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you talk nice to it, it'll be like my pleasure. So feels like you're at Chick-fil-A. You're also getting really valuable insights on how to set up your node. So definitely would take advantage of that.
I will say, Jake, you should have. I don't know if you're already set up. Did you get your SSD yet and start downloading or at least syncing your node, or not yet? Because that's going to take the longest. That's something you want to do ASAP.
Yeah, I don't on my computer yet.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you have an SSD that you could plug into another computer? I would just do that for now. I think you can transfer the SSD onto your laptop after, but you should get that done now. And Ross can confirm if that's true or not. But you can plug up your SSD to your PC, start downloading the Bitcoin Core, start doing the sync, and I believe after you're done with the sync, since it's going to be on your SSD, you can then transfer it to your laptop to do the rest of the install. Ross, can you do that? I think so, right?
Yeah, you can definitely. Yeah, sorry, I just got a phone call. If you have some time right now, I would say, Jake, I would call up your internet service provider and just start by upgrading your internet to the fastest possible setting. We've talked about it before, but it's one of those things that sneakily, I didn't even realize how big an impact. It cut the time estimate for me syncing my node from 3 days to 9 hours. So you definitely can sync on one laptop and then transition to another. It might just be a little tricky. If you're going to get your laptop delivered in the next couple of hours, I would just say, just call up your internet service provider and spend your time doing that. Switch out your routers if you need to. If you just upgrade your internet speed, it's going to be a huge advantage, and one that's going to benefit you the entire halving. So I would prioritize that first if you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, good shout. Ezra's saying not from Mac to PC. I'm assuming from PC to Mac as well, which I would be doing. So sounds like I'll just wait.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. That's so simple. You can't. Yeah, it's two different programs. But if you are going Windows to Windows, I think you can do it, and it'll save you. If you're trying to go from your PC to your laptop or whatever, you can do it. I think easier.
Yeah, and if you're at all able to use Ethernet, I would really recommend that as well. But yeah, feel free to shoot me a DM, Jake, or whoever else. Definitely willing to tell you guys the shortcuts that I've learned after working on this for the past 4 days.
Absolutely. I love that we got the IT support in here, ready to roll.
We do.
Hopefully we're going to
if anybody's stuck like me that can't upgrade their internet because my area just doesn't support more than 100 megs, I need to move out of this place. Start doing it now because it's going to take you 3 days. I've been stuck doing I'm still downloading. I'm still basically syncing. It's been since Saturday, and I have 12 hours left. So definitely get on that right away. You don't want to wait till the 18th, and then the halving's on the 19th or the 20th, and then you're running to do this. So I'm already feeling a little bit tight on time, and I haven't even finished the syncing yet. So if you're gonna do this, do it now.
What a legend. Genzo setting up a Bitcoin node using mobile hotspot. We love to see it.
I should. It would probably be faster.
Oh, God. Yeah, McDonald's Wi-Fi on your 25-year-old ThinkPad. You got this.
Everywhere else, I have 1 gig internet, like even at work. And then at home, I've tried to upgrade it to tell me, sorry, your area is not set up for it. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys are living in the Stone Age. Let's go, man.
One thing Ross said that I just want to highlight and shout out. Be nice to AI, everybody. You know, treat ChatGPT with care and say thank you to Alexa. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, just be nice. Be nice.
Be nice to AI the answer as well.
Oh, we're always nice to AI. The answer. All right. Well, I'm still have nothing. I'm still. Yeah, if anybody has any questions or any topics they want to jump in and ask about, or Jake, if you got any more, we can keep things rolling. But feeling good about this week.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else on the docket. I think we covered a good amount. A lot going on with the Bitcoin rune action happening. SocialFi stuff. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the market still, despite the little dipperino that we got and the little chop action. But yeah, still feeling bullish long term. Might have a little chop going on, but that just means there's going to be opportunities in some other areas. Usually when the majors chop, people kind of rotate to some other stuff like these farms and maybe possibly some NFTs stuff as well. And likely runes are going to catch a lot of attention over this next week. So yeah, excited to cook with MVHQ. I'm glad we're spending a lot of resources getting prepared for this.
Absolutely, you love to see it. If you're not early, you're late, and the clock is ticking. So if you're waiting to jump on those things, now is the time. Yeah, appreciate everybody tuning in, man. We'll be here again, like always, next week, 12 Eastern, to walk you guys through everything to look out for the week. And yeah, hopefully Bitcoin will have recovered a little bit by then. We can reopen our longs. But if not, we'll just be farming SocialFi, apparently, farming blasts every which way.
One last small shout at 2 p.m., so in about 45 minutes, anybody that's a puppet holder or a PNB holder, or even, I think the CCO just got added to, there's going to be a drop, clay puppets, and they're $20 each, Super Wallet. You're already whitelisted. You can check the drop list. I have the link in there for the mint and stuff, and that should be a cook. I see a lot of people, it's cheap, right? And everything on Bitcoin just moons when it's cheap like this, so check if you're whitelisted. The mint link is in the drop list, and yeah, good luck.
Good luck, everybody. We will see you in about 50 minutes on District 1 for the next rally, and then we will see you at 6:30 Eastern for a very special edition of Boss Dogs. Looking forward to it.